I love romantic comedies, but they're awful, aren't they? Why we're still head over heels for the romc.
Raindrop, drip, drop top, top smoking, no cooking the hot pot. Fucking on your bitch, yeah, that.